The massive view screen aboard the UDF Destiny crackled with static before revealing the alien council chamber. Commander James Reeves stood straight, his weathered face showing no emotion as he faced the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council for the first time. The chamber was filled with beings of various shapes and sizes, all looking down at the human transmission with mixed expressions of curiosity and disdain. Species 4291, approach for classification, announced the head counselor, a tall being with silvery skin who called himself first speaker. He didn't even bother using Earth's proper name. Reed cleared his throat. I represent Earth and the United Defense Force. We come seeking peaceful dialogue and mutual understanding. A ripple of what seemed like laughter moved through the chamber. The first speaker's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. Peaceful dialogue. Your species has barely mastered basic space travel. We have watched your broadcasts. Your kind fights wars over dirt and invisible borders. You kill each other over different beliefs. You are emotional, unstable, and primitive. Reed's jaw tightened slightly, but he maintained his diplomatic composure. With respect, first speaker, humanity has made great strides in the last century. We have united under a common banner and— Yes, interrupted another counselor, this one a bulbous creature with multiple eyes, united after nearly destroying yourselves multiple times. We have observed your nuclear weapons tests, your chemical warfare, your biological weapons. You are dangerous children playing with fire. The commander felt his hands clench behind his back, but his voice remained steady. We have learned from our mistakes. That is what humans do. We learn, we adapt, we improve. The council members exchanged glances. The first speaker leaned forward. Very well. We will allow Earth limited trading rights. But understand this. You will be restricted to your solar system. No colonization beyond Mars. No military vessels beyond Jupiter's orbit. These are our terms. Reed wanted to argue, to point out the unfairness of these restrictions, but he knew this was not the time. Instead, he nodded. We will bring your terms back to Earth's leadership for consideration. As he turned to leave, the first speaker added something that made Reed's blood run cold. Oh, and Commander, do try to keep your species' emotional outbursts in check. The galaxy has no room for unstable elements. Back aboard the Destiny, Reed's second-in-command, Lieutenant Maria Torres, was waiting. How did it go, sir? Reed walked to the window, staring out at the massive alien station that housed the council. They see us as children, Maria. Dangerous, unstable children. That's not fair. We've worked so hard to. Life isn't fair, Reed interrupted, turning to face her. But they've made a crucial mistake. They think our emotions make us weak. They don't understand that our feelings, our passion, our anger, they're what drove us to climb out of the mud and reach for the stars. Torres nodded slowly. What are your orders, sir? Send word back to Earth. Tell them to proceed with Protocol Zero. If the Council wants to treat us like children, we'll play along. For now. He turned back to the window, his reflection grim in the reinforced glass. But we'll keep building. Keep preparing. Because sooner or later, they'll realize their mistake. And when that day comes, sir, Reed's voice was quiet but firm. When that day comes, the galaxy will learn that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they could have made. The Destiny turned away from the council station, its engines humming quietly as it headed back toward Earth. Inside his quarters, Reed began his official log. First contact, Day 1. The Galactic Council sees us as primitive, emotional, and dangerous. If they only knew. Our emotions aren't our weakness. They're our greatest strength. And one day, they'll understand exactly what that means. As Earth grew larger in their viewport, both Reed and Torres knew this was just the beginning. Humanity would play by the Council's rules, build their strength in secret, and wait. Because if there was one thing humans were good at, it was proving others wrong. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, A clock started ticking down to the day when the galaxy would learn to fear the species they had so casually dismissed. 5 years had passed since first contact. The Mars mining colony gleamed under the red planet's sun, a testament to human determination. 342 people called it home, including families with children born under Mars' crimson skies. Governor Thomas Ward stood at his office window, watching kids play in the enclosed garden dome, their laughter muffled by the thick glass. The first warning came from the colony's outer sensors. Unknown ships approaching. Sir. The young operator's voice crackled through Ward's comm unit. They're not responding to hails. Ward frowned. The colony wasn't expecting any supply ships for another week. Show me. The screen lit up with images that made his heart stop. 3 massive warships, their hulls covered in dark, scale-like armor, were descending toward the colony. He recognized them from the Council's species database. Drachnid vessels. Send an emergency signal to Earth, Ward ordered, and get me the Council. But it was already too late. The first blast tore through the colony's main dome like it was paper. Warning sirens screamed as emergency barriers slammed into place, but the Drachnid ships kept firing. Ward watched in horror as the garden dome shattered, the children inside having barely enough time to reach the emergency shelters. This is Governor Ward of the Mars colony. We are a civilian installation. Please cease fire. His desperate message echoed into space. The response came in a cold, reptilian voice. This space belongs to the Drachnid Empire. Your presence here violates ancient trading routes. You were warned. Warned? We never received any. Ward's protest was cut short as another blast rocked the colony. Hours later, Admiral James Reeves stood before the Galactic Council again, his face ashen, but his eyes burning with barely controlled rage. 307 dead, including 64 children. The first speaker looked bored. The Drachnids presented evidence that this was their traditional space route. Your colony was in violation. Evidence. Reed's voice was dangerously quiet. We have documented proof of our legal claim to that territory. You approved it yourself 5 years ago. New historical data has come to light. Another counselor waved dismissively. These territorial disputes are common. You humans must learn to adapt to galactic politics. Reed stepped forward, his fists clenched. Common. They murdered children. Control your emotions, Admiral, the first speaker warned. This emotional instability is exactly why your species is still restricted to your solar system. The Drachnids have agreed to pay a small compensation. Compensation. Lieutenant Torres, standing behind Reed, spat the word out like poison. This matter is closed, the first speaker declared. You are dismissed. Back aboard the UDF Destiny, Reed sat in his quarters, staring at the casualty list. Names, ages, dreams, all snuffed out because some aliens decided their trade route was more important than human lives. Sir, Torres entered quietly. Word from Earth. They're activating Protocol Prometheus. Reed looked up, his eyes hard as steel. About damn time. The Council thinks we're going to just accept this, Torres said, her voice shaking with anger. They think we're going to roll over and take it. No, Lieutenant. Reed stood, walking to his desk and pressing his palm against a hidden scanner. A secret compartment slid open, revealing a black data cube. They think we're primitive, emotional, and weak. And that's exactly what we wanted them to think. He inserted the cube into his computer. Immediately, classified files began flooding the screen. Secret shipyards hidden in asteroid belts, advanced weapons platforms disguised as research stations, revolutionary technology that humanity had kept hidden from the Council's prying eyes. Send the activation codes to all UDF cells, Reed ordered. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when humanity stops playing nice. He paused, looking at a photo of the Mars colony, taken just days before its destruction. And God help anyone who stands in our way. In the depths of space, hidden shipyards hummed to life. Weapon systems powered up. and humanity prepared to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The secret facility deep inside Jupiter's largest moon, Europa, buzzed with activity. Admiral Reed walked through the massive underground hangar, his footsteps echoing off the icy walls. Above him, rows of warships hung in their berths, ships that no alien had ever seen, ships that would make the Drachnids regret their arrogance. "Status report," he commanded, entering the control center where Lieutenant Torres stood before a wall of screens. "All hidden bases reporting ready, sir," she replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "The Neptune shipyards are online. The Mars defense grid is powering up." And she smiled grimly. "Project Thunder is ready for deployment." Reed nodded, watching as more status reports flooded in from bases hidden throughout the solar system. For 5 years, humanity had played weak. They had acted primitive, emotional, and technologically inferior, all while building in secret, preparing for the day when someone would push them too far. That day had finally come. "Send the signal," Reed ordered. "Wake them all up." Across the solar system, hidden installations began to stir. Asteroid bases that appeared empty on alien scans revealed massive weapon arrays, seemingly primitive human ships transformed, their hull plates shifting to expose advanced weaponry. And deep within Saturn's rings, the crown jewel of humanity's secret fleet emerged, the UDF Thunder, a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In the Galactic Council chamber, alarms began to blare. "What's happening?" the first speaker demanded, watching as his screens filled with new contacts appearing throughout Earth's solar system. "Impossible," one of the technical advisors muttered. "We're detecting thousands of new ships, energy readings off the scale, weapons systems we've never seen before." The chamber's main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Reed standing on the bridge of a massive warship. The council members gasped. Gone was the humble diplomatic officer they knew. In his place stood a warrior, his eyes hard with purpose. "Members of the council," Reed's voice was calm but carried an edge of steel. "For 5 years, you've treated humanity like children. You've dismissed us as primitive, emotional, and weak. Today that ends. How dare you?" The first speaker began, but Reed cut him off. "The Mars colony massacre was your last mistake," Reed continued. "You thought we would accept your excuses, your dismissals, your condescension. Instead, you've awakened something you can't control." Behind him, screens showed human warships emerging from hidden docks, their designs unlike anything in the galaxy. They moved with impossible grace, using technology the Council had thought was centuries beyond human capability. That's quantum-full technology," one counselor stammered. "You said you were still working with basic fusion drives." Reed's smile was cold. "We said a lot of things. You chose to believe them because they fit your prejudices. Your arrogance blinded you to a simple truth. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, or our ships, or our weapons. It's our ability to adapt, to deceive, to plan." The council chamber erupted in chaos as more reports came in. Human ships were appearing everywhere, their true capabilities finally revealed. Defense systems that had been dismissed as primitive were transforming into advanced weapon platforms. "This is your only warning," Reed declared. "The Drachnids will answer for their crimes. Anyone who stands with them will share their fate. And if you think we're being emotional or primitive now," his voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, "just wait until you see what humanity can really do when we're angry." The transmission cut off, leaving the council in stunned silence. Outside their windows, Earth's fleet was gathering, a vast armada of ships that had been hidden in plain sight, waiting for this moment. In his command chair aboard the Thunder, Reed gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "All ships, battle formations. It's time to show them why you never provoke humanity." The giant had awakened, and the galaxy was about to learn the true meaning of fear. The Drachnid home system hung like a jewel in space, its 3 suns casting multiple shadows across the massive defense platforms that had protected their civilization for millennia. They had never been breached, never been challenged. The Drachnids watched their sensors with confidence, certain that the human fleet would be easy to detect and even easier to destroy. They were wrong. The first sign of attack wasn't on any sensor. It was a strange silence that fell across their communication networks. Then their defense grid started shutting down, platform by platform, like lights winking out in the night. Impossible. The Drachnid Supreme Commander slammed his clawed fist on his command console. How are they doing this? The answer came in the form of thousands of tiny dots appearing on their screens. Human stealth drones, smaller than shuttles, had slipped through their defenses days ago. While the Drachnids waited for a frontal assault, humanity had already infiltrated their system. Admiral Reed's voice echoed across all Drachnid frequencies. This is how humans wage war. We don't just fight. We hunt. The UDF Thunder appeared first, seemingly materializing from nowhere, as its quantum-fold drive brought it into the heart of Drachnid space. Behind it, the human fleet emerged from their stealth approaches, not in the traditional attack formations the Drachnids expected, but in patterns that seemed chaotic, unpredictable. All ships, execute Battle Plan Beta, Reed commanded. Remember the Mars colony. The human fleet moved like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. While alien races fought in orderly formations, humanity had studied the chaos of nature. The swarm patterns of insects, the hunting tactics of wolves, the unpredictability of lightning storms. Each ship acted independently yet as part of a greater whole, making their movements impossible to predict. Lieutenant Torres, now commanding her own ship, the UDF Vengeance, led the first strike. Launching Psychological Warfare Package Alpha, she reported. Across the Drachnid fleet, ships' crews began hearing sounds. The screams of the Mars colony victims, the laughter of the children who died, all mixed with ancient human war chants and battle cries. The Drachnids, used to straightforward combat, found their concentration shattered by these psychological attacks. They're not fighting fair, a Drachnid captain screamed over the comm. Fair. Reed's voice was cold. Was it fair when you murdered our children? The human fleet struck from all directions. While the Drachnids tried to form defensive lines, human ships would quantum fold behind them, strike, and vanish again. Earth's vessels seemed to ignore the laws of physics, using technology that had been developed in secret for years. Sir, Torres reported, their main defense line is breaking. Reed nodded grimly. Launch the Thunder's special package. From the massive human flagship, thousands of tiny lights emerge. Nanite swarms, another technology humanity had kept hidden. They attached themselves to Drachnid ships, eating through hull plating, disabling weapons, and spreading like a virus through their fleet. The Drachnid Supreme Commander watched in horror as his mighty fleet was taken apart piece by piece, not through brute force, but through a combination of strategy, psychology, and technologies they had never imagined humans possessing. Please, he finally broadcast, we surrender. We'll pay any price. Reed's response was immediate. The price was already paid, in human lives. Now you pay in fear. All ships, execute final attack pattern. Show them what humanity's fury looks like. The human fleet moved as one, their formation shifting into what looked like a massive hand reaching out to crush the remaining Drachnid forces. It was a display of both power and artistry, a reminder that humans could be elegant even in their destruction. As the Drachnid home system fell, news spread across the galaxy. Humanity hadn't just won a battle, they had rewritten the rules of warfare. They had shown that their emotions, far from being a weakness, made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Because when humans went to war, they didn't just fight with ships and weapons. They fought with centuries of battle experience, with rage, with cunning, and with a creativity that no other species could match. The galaxy began to understand. They hadn't been containing a primitive species. They had been poking the sleeping dragon. The Galactic Council's emergency session was interrupted by another report of Drachnid losses. In just 3 weeks, humanity had systematically dismantled the military might of one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. The council chamber, usually a place of ordered debate, had become a center of panic. "They've taken another system," a junior aide announced, his voice trembling. "The humans, they didn't even fire a shot. They just seized control of all automated systems and locked the Drachnids out of their own colonies." The first speaker watched the tactical displays with growing horror. Human ships moved across space in ways that defied conventional military doctrine. They didn't focus on taking territory or destroying fleets. Instead, they targeted communication hubs, supply lines, and command centers. They fought like predators, not soldiers. "Show us the footage from the Battle of Drachnid Prime again," one counselor demanded. The main screen lit up with images that would haunt them for years. Human ships, moving in perfect coordination, had surrounded the Drachnid homeworld. But instead of bombarding it from orbit as expected, they had launched what looked like simple communication satellites. Within hours, every computer system on the planet had been compromised. Water treatment plants, power grids, food distribution networks, all fell under human control. The mighty Drachnid civilization had been brought to its knees without a single building being destroyed. "This isn't warfare," the first speaker muttered. This is hunting." Lieutenant Torres stood on the bridge of the UDF Vengeance, watching as another Drachnid fleet surrendered. Her ship had been leading the psychological warfare campaign, broadcasting the sounds of human warfare throughout enemy space. Ancient war drums, battle cries from Earth's history, and recordings of children playing. A reminder of who the Drachnids had murdered. "Ma'am," her communications officer called out, "Admiral Reed is requesting a status update." Torres smiled grimly. "Tell him Phase 3 is complete. The Drachnids' outer colonies are isolated. Their supply lines are cut. Their communications are in chaos." Aboard the UDF Thunder, Reed received the report with satisfaction. Humanity's revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about precision. About showing the galaxy that humans didn't just fight wars, they mastered them. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the Drachnid Supreme Commander is requesting terms of surrender." Again. Reed thought of the Mars colony, of the children who died there. "Tell them the terms remain the same. Complete surrender. All military assets turned over to Earth control, and public acknowledgement of their crimes." The response came quickly. The Drachnids, once proud and arrogant, had been broken not by brute force, but by humanity's terrifying efficiency. They had expected a war of anger and emotion. Instead, they got a masterclass in strategic warfare. In the council chamber, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence as the Drachnid surrender was broadcast across all frequencies. Their mighty empire, which had stood for thousands of years, had fallen in less than a month to a species they had dismissed as primitive. We need to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about humans," one counselor suggested. The first speaker nodded slowly. "Their emotions don't make them weak. They make them unpredictable, creative, dangerous." On the tactical displays, human ships had already begun implementing post-war protocols. They weren't occupying Drachnid worlds or destroying their cities. Instead, they were systematically dismantling military installations while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. "They're not just warriors," another counselor observed. "They're teachers. They're showing us what happens when someone provokes them, but they're doing it with surgical precision." The message was clear. Humanity could have destroyed the Drachnids completely. Instead, they chose to demonstrate their superiority in a way that would serve as a lesson to the entire galaxy. Lieutenant Torres summarized it best in her battle log. "The galaxy thought our emotions made us primitive. Today, they learned that human anger isn't wild or uncontrolled. It's a precision instrument, crafted by millennia of warfare. And now, They'll never forget what happens when they push us too far. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber felt different now. The once proud alien representatives sat in uncomfortable silence, watching the empty Drachnid seats. It had been 2 months since humanity's victory, and the galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. "We have completed our analysis of human warfare techniques," announced the head of the Military Advisory Committee, his multiple eyes blinking nervously. "Our conclusions are disturbing." The first speaker leaned forward. "Explain." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing recordings from the human campaign against the Drachnids. The council watched again as human ships moved with impossible precision, their tactics unlike anything seen before in galactic warfare. "Humans don't fight like we do," the advisor explained. "We wage war based on technological superiority and overwhelming force. They—" He paused, searching for words. "They turn warfare into an art form." Lieutenant Torres stood beside Admiral Reed as they entered the council chamber for the first time since the war ended. The aliens who had once looked down on them now couldn't meet their eyes. "You requested this meeting," Reed said calmly. "We're here." The first speaker stood slowly. We have been studying your species more carefully. We made terrible mistakes in our initial assessment." "Go on." Reed's voice was neutral, but his eyes were sharp. "We thought your emotions made you primitive," the first speaker continued. "We saw your anger, your passion, your desire to protect your own, and we dismissed these as signs of an undeveloped species." He gestured to the hologram still showing scenes from the war. "We were wrong." Torres watched as the images shifted to show different aspects of human warfare. The psychological tactics, the precision strikes, the protection of civilian infrastructure even during major offensives. "Your emotions don't weaken you," another counselor added. "They drive you to heights of innovation we never imagined. Your anger doesn't make you primitive. It makes you devastatingly effective." Reed nodded slowly. "It took the death of our children for you to understand this." The chamber fell silent at his words. The first speaker bowed his head. "We have reviewed the Mars colony incident, our failure to act, our dismissal of your grievances. It was unforgivable. Yet you seek forgiveness anyway," Torres observed. "We seek understanding." The first speaker corrected. "Your species has shown us something we never expected. You fight with passion but control. You strike with fury but precision. You can bring an empire to its knees without destroying a single civilian center." The hologram changed again, showing scenes from after the war. Human ships helping to rebuild damaged Drachnid infrastructure, providing aid to civilian populations, establishing new communication networks. "Even in victory," the first speaker continued, "you show a complexity we fail to grasp. You are capable of both terrible violence and extraordinary mercy." Reed stepped forward. "That's what you never understood about humanity. Our emotions, our anger, our love, our desire for justice. They're not separate from our intelligence. They're part of it. We don't fight because we're primitive. We fight because we understand exactly what we're fighting for." The council members shifted uncomfortably as Reed's words sank in. They had thought themselves superior, looking down on human emotions as a weakness. Now they understood. Those same emotions had forged humanity into something unique in the galaxy, a species that could channel its rage into precision, its fury into strategy. "The galaxy has changed," the first speaker declared. "And we must change with it. Humanity has shown us that true strength lies not in suppressing emotions, but in mastering them." Torres looked at Reed, seeing the slight smile on his face. The galaxy was finally learning what humanity had known all along, that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to feel deeply, think clearly, and act decisively, all at the same time. The signing ceremony of the Terra Accords marked a historic day for both humanity and the galaxy. The council chamber, once a place of alien superiority, had been transformed. The curved table now formed a complete circle, with Earth's representatives sitting at the same level as all other species. Admiral Reed stood at the podium, his dress uniform gleaming under the chamber's lights. Lieutenant Torres stood nearby, watching as representatives from every major galactic civilization waited for humanity's address. 3 months ago, Reed began, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. We showed you what happens when humanity is pushed too far. Today, we show you something else. What happens when humanity extends its hand in peace. The main screen behind him displayed images from across the galaxy. Human ships helping rebuild Drachnid worlds, medical teams treating alien civilians, engineers working alongside other species to improve their technology. Many of you feared us after our victory, Reed continued. You expected revenge, destruction, the anger you thought defined our species. Instead, you saw something that confused you even more than our warfare, our capacity for forgiveness. The first speaker, now serving his last day before the Council's restructuring, nodded slowly. We did not understand this duality in your nature. Reed smiled. That's because you saw emotions as separate from reason. You thought our anger made us dangerous and primitive. What you didn't realize was that the same passion that drives our fury also fuels our compassion. Torres stepped forward, activating a holographic display showing the new galactic defense treaties. Under the Terra Accords, humanity would share some of their technology with other species, while maintaining certain advances as safeguards. We don't seek dominion, Torres explained. We seek understanding. Earth will help modernize galactic military doctrine, teaching principles that we've learned through millennia of warfare. But more importantly, we'll teach restraint. The chamber was silent as Reed continued. The Drachnid Empire learned the hard way what happens when humanity's children are threatened. But look at them now. He gestured to the Drachnid representatives, who now sat with more humility. Their civilization survives, their people prosper, and they've learned the most important lesson about humanity. And what lesson is that? Asked the counselor. That our greatest strength isn't our weapons, our technology, or even our tactical brilliance, Reed declared. It's our ability to be both warriors and peacekeepers, to fight with unmatched fury when needed, but to show mercy when the fighting ends. The signing ceremony proceeded, each species adding their mark to the historic document. The Terra Accords established new rules for interstellar conflict, with humanity serving as both teacher and guardian of galactic peace. As the ceremony concluded, the first speaker made one final address. We once feared human emotions as a sign of primitiveness. Now we understand. They are the source of something we had forgotten. The ability to feel deeply, to fight passionately, and to forgive genuinely. Reed returned to the podium for his closing words, words that would be remembered across the galaxy for generations to come. Remember this day, not because humanity showed its power, but because we showed its purpose. We are not warriors because we love war. We are warriors because we understand its cost. We don't seek conflict, but we will never shy from it. And most importantly, we will always, always protect our own. Later, aboard the UDF Thunder, Torres found Reed looking out at the stars. Do you think they finally understand us, sir? Reed watched as ships from a dozen species traveled peacefully through space, a sight unimaginable just months ago. They're beginning to. They've learned that human anger isn't just destruction. It's a force for change. And sometimes that change can make the galaxy better. The stars twinkled silently, witnessing the dawn of a new era. Humanity had shown the galaxy both their fury and their mercy. And in doing so, they had taught the oldest civilizations a timeless truth. That true strength lies not in the ability to wage war, but in knowing when to end it, and how to build something better from its ashes.